Period. Welcome back to the Diary Room, Vlin.
Thank you.
So you've recently broken our all-time record for most HOH wins. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I feel like I could have probably snagged a couple more in the past, but I'm glad that I finally have it, and I am planning on getting one more. So,
Ooh, guns. Okay, very interesting. So, kind of walk us through your strategy for the week. You went with Robin and Nathan Nums. So,
mhm.
where was your head at?
So basically, I really wanted to win this HOH in particular because I have the Final Four veto. So next week, HOH really doesn't matter nearly as much to me. This was the most important HOH for me. I've been talking about winning it for quite a while now. Um, and with Nathan and Robin both playing against me and Swan ineligible, basically it had to be me or Ari to win this to ensure that we can get to final three, hopefully together. So yeah, I made very, very, very detailed and thorough notes. I spent a really long time on them, um, with multiple pages, and I'm really glad I did because in the OTEV I was kind of I wasn't really prepared. I mean, I did come in second place, thankfully, but I really did not have my notes ready. Luckily, I knew some of the answers right off the bat. But after OTEV, I kind of knew that this is the time in the game where these season history comps start to come into play. So yeah, my intuition snapped in taking down notes because they helped me a lot. And yeah, I did. My score was really good. So yeah, but Nathan and Robin are my nominees because obviously I do want to get to the end with Arya and Swan. Um, I do think I could win against Nathan and Robin easier than Arya or Swan because I think that Arya and Swan have both played really good games actually. And I'm even like just due to like I'm not really sure how the jury perceives me. I know that right now we have in there Hunter, who has tried to target Hex and Walker all game. We have Dre, who I actually did feel pretty good with, but I'm not sure. I'm just not sure who's bitter at me, especially between Hex and Walker. I feel like I was justified, especially in Walker's eviction. But Hex, I really have no clue how she feels about me. I have no clue about how she's gonna feel about the game I played. So like even though like I am very confident in my game, I'm just still not fully sure how the jury feels about me.
Very interesting. Um, so let's rewind a bit. So last time we spoke, Ari had won the veto, and it was up in the air if she would use it on you or not. But she does, and Hex leaves. 4-0. Um, so was there any part of you that felt like you needed to have flipped this vote for your game, or did you feel like Hex leaving there was good for you?
Ultimately, I did feel like Hex leaving there would be good for me. Although, like I think I stated, I would have rather seen Walker go, just because he was doing a lot of throwing the bus under the bus that round. He completely tried to convince Ari not to use the veto because it's too late in the game for threats and shields like me to still be in. Um, which he was making fair points, but also like once I hear that, like I I'm fully against you. Like there's nothing really you can do to stop that. But granted, Hex and I were painted as a final two by Hunter like since very early on. So I knew that with me coming down, everyone wanted to weaken me. I think even including Ari and Swan. And on top of Hex just not being like super active or social rather, I think that it was just kind of a done deal for her.
Very interesting. Um, so Swan goes on to win the next HOH. Um, he puts up Robin and Zeeves. You guys play out the veto, and Zeeves asks you, "Hey, if you win the veto, can you use it on me?" And you tell him that yes, you would. And it seems like you're saying that you did intend to. So can you kind of walk us through why you wanted to save Zeeves last cycle and
Yes.
what your plan was?
And actually, like I've thought back on that entire situation. And after like once noms were set in place, and I finally asked Nathan what he wanted to do, and he said he wanted to vote Robin. I realized that plan wouldn't have worked regardless. My original plan was going to be to save him so that if Nathan won this HOH and him and Zeeves and I went up, that Zeeves would go home still. And I thought that Nathan would see us as a duo. However, what my intuition is telling me is that I had already been sold under the bus to Nathan from Zeeves as well. So I think that ultimately my plan wouldn't have worked there. But I wouldn't have known that. So I'm actually very glad I didn't win it. I was really
Okay, very
expecting I was really expecting Nathan to want to vote him out, but whenever he said that he didn't want to, that's whenever we shifted gears, and that's whenever I convinced Swan to use his vote blocker on me, so that um, it didn't look very suspicious to Nathan that I was willing to vote Z's out. Um, because I feel like he would kind of be putting two and two together, and maybe would have even gone for this HOH even harder. So yeah, that was like kind of my plan behind that.
all right, very interesting. So Ari does win that veto and keeps noms the same. Um, so with those noms being set in place, did any part of you feel like taking Robin out there would have been better for your game, or did you really feel like Zeus was a top priority to go at that point?
Honestly, they either could have went. I do think that Zeeves is a little bit better in comps. Um, not by much, but still by a little bit. And this is the end game. Like I already know that I want to go to the end with Ari and Swan. They are the trio that I have that has not turned on me. I've clearly had some small problems with Hex in the past, and obviously whenever I was on the block during Nathan's HOH, I definitely started to have problems with Zeeves. So yeah, honestly, I was ready to let Zeeves go at that point. He had already proven that he is not working with me in the game. He does not want me to go any further. So the feeling was mutual at that point.
Gagum. Okay. So back to this week. Um, so if Robin or Nathan were to win the deal, who do you feel like would put up as a renom there?
I think that I would put up Ari just because obviously she would be safe, but just because she has not seen the block once this season. And if I do end up going to final two with her, I don't want her to say that. So I would nominate her and I would probably even say like, Swan and I have definitely seen the block. Like, yeah. I don't know, unless Swan volunteers. I honestly wouldn't mind leaving her off if Swan volunteered, but I have a feeling that he wouldn't want to. Um, and clearly she would know she's safe. I don't know. It is a shitty situation because like, and I feel the same. Like, if I have to choose either of them to go to final two with, because they have done so much for me, and I feel like I've also done a lot for them. Of course, like I haven't went against them at all. I really haven't even, um, sold them under the bus at all to even like Hex and Zeeves whenever I was still very close with them. So it's kind of a tough situation to have to pick between them. Um, Zeus was calling Ari a goat on his way out and whatnot, but I really don't think that's the case. I think I said in my last diary room, I say in my diary room all the time, I really respect her jury management. I think she has done a great job being the nomination whisperer of the season. And she just kind of naturally has a really great way of talking to people. So yeah, I don't see her as a goat at all.
Very interesting. Um, so I know in the past, having the veto, for you, like if I ever make it against Ari and Swan, they could like this information. But now that you're guaranteed final three, regardless, um, does part of you
Unless I
feel
don't
like,
veto myself. Gag. Just
please,
kidding.
crying? So does part of you feel like, are you at all considering your end game plans, or do you still go with Ari?
Do I still want to go with Ari and Swan, you said?
Yes.
Yes, I do. I believe that being cutthroat can be good for people's games at sometimes, but Ari literally found this private diary room advantage herself, and I am not the kind of person that could just cut her just because. I would find myself an easier win against Nathan or Robin. I do really want to remain loyal to them. I am very confident in the game that I played here, that I can win against either of them. I do think it will be slightly harder, and they could get more votes than Nathan or Robin would. But also, people could just be really bitter that I have gotten this far and done so well in the org, and vote against me regardless. Either way, whether I went with Nathan or Robin or Ariane Swan. So it really is what it is. But I am going to stick to my guns, and I am going to go with Arya and Swan just because they have been really great allies to me. I have no reason to be really upset with them about anything that I know of. So yeah.
Very interesting. So I know you mentioned in the past you feeling as though you will have to win the final HOH. But so who do you feel like in the game currently might take you there, even if you don't win?
I think the only person that would be Swan. Um, I know that he's pretty confident in his game. He's talked about, him making his own individual moves that he could claim for himself if he did sit next to me at the end. Like such as like, he was talking about not getting rid of Nathan at during the last round because he thinks that it would be for sure a jury vote loss for him. Um, if we did sit to the end at the end next to each other. So I do think that he would bring me. I think that Ari would bring Swan. I just think that they're a little bit closer. And yeah, I mean, I'm also worried. Like, I think that Ari might vote Swan as well. But if I end up taking him, I would let her know that obviously I respect her game a lot, and I think that she's managed the jury very well. And she's been just an overall very nice person to pretty much everyone. Um, so yeah, I'm still not like 1000% sure that I would bring one over Ari, but I mean like I'm pretty sure I would. I would let them both campaign though, and definitely weigh out my options.
Very interesting. How do you feel like you've been handling your jury management this season?
It's been weird because out of the four jurors, two I was very, very closely aligned with. And I hope that they can respect the fact that I didn't want to be just another shield for them. Like, I kind of think both of them treated me as. Um, Hex, has been saying since the start of the game that I'm playing too passive as a former winner and a vet, and that I'm a threat regardless, and that the only way that you can play this game in that position is aggressively and visibly. However, I think that I've done a really, really good job of, despite being a threat and everyone knowing it, still making a lot of like hidden moves. Even ever since the pre-jury, like I was a huge part of hijacking Hunter's HOH. I was a huge part of Leah going home, which was great for me because she was so close to all of my allies. I planted the tokens on her and then used it against her with Dre to really ensure that she was a target and also make sure that I was not a renomination because I was a sealed vote against her. Like I said, I feel like I have really done a lot this game. Even not even things that people aren't fully aware that I have done, and that's kind of what I want to explain if I do get to the end. Um, so yeah, I hope that Dre and Hunter can both realize that they both painted me as a threat to win the game and someone that really has to be out immediately. And here I am about to be in the final three. So I hope that they can respect my dedication and also foresight to have to know that Hex, Zeeves, and I would all be targeted. And I had the foresight to have a backup plan for when that happens to make sure that I stay.
All right. Do you have a particular target in mind for this week, or do not bother, you
I
should not
would
go?
like. I mean, it's going to come down to veto, but I would like Nathan to go. God bless Robin. He has been nominated, I think, more times than any house guest in BBD history, and I think that I've been 6 of those now. However, Nathan has tended to do better in comps than him. He won the first 2 vetoes. He won an HOH. He won 2 powers. So yeah, he is slightly bigger of a threat than Robin is. And I also think that the jury, some of the jury, even though they've called Nathan clueless, they've liked him. Like Hunter has said that. Um, and ultimately, I think that Nathan would be a little bit better in the final 4 HOH than Robin.
Very interesting. So, in a scenario where you would get to the next HOH and Robin, let's say Robin were to win HOH, um, who do you feel like you would have to cut there?
I really don't want to think about that. Like, I really don't want to think about that because cutting Ari with the veto that she found would be like, I mean, like, I really don't know if I have it in me. I really don't know if I do. That's just like I said, like there is a level of cutthroatness that I feel like is acceptable, but like that is like very, very, I just feel like that's so villainous. Um, I honestly may cut Swan at that point. Um, yeah. It's crazy, but I feel like I would really have to talk to both of them. I would hope that Swan would be able to understand where I'm coming from. Um, yeah, I would let them both campaign, but that would be a really, really tough decision.
Very interesting. Um, so, how do you feel like you would rank the remaining house guests on jury win equity?
I think that one, and obviously, this is just my perspective. I may like read stuff after the season after this and be like, wow, I'm a dumbass. But I think that one is Ari. Um, I don't think she's really pissed anyone off this game. I feel like the only time she has was whenever she vetoed me. But other than that, like I feel like she was really Hex was like Hex has talked about how she loved talking with her, all this stuff. Um, I feel like she has a great relationship with Nathan. Um, Nathan has actually told her a lot of things that he didn't ever tell me or Hex or Zeeves or Swan. From what I knew, it was like Ari getting all this information. So yeah, I would say one is Ari. I think based on gameplay alone and comps, I think 2 would be Swan. I think 3 would be Nathan, and I think 4 would be Robin. And then, well, and myself, I think above all of them, but I could be wrong there too.
Very interesting. And going into the final two, how do you feel? How would you address perhaps perceptions that maybe, okay, you've already won before, maybe we should give it to someone else? What do you feel like you would say to that?
Yeah, that's another thing I've been thinking about is like I'm just, I I'm not sure. I'm really I don't think I've ever seen a winner get to the end again in any org. Um but I would kind of like just like explain that like despite like I would kind of spin it in a way to where I would ask them to vote on this org, this season alone and based on the things that happened this season because I do think that I really have been playing hard since the very beginning, even if a lot of it was in kind of like under the radar moves at the beginning. Um, I would just go on to like, explain my game in full and explain why it was better than anyone else's. I think that's really my only scenario in that option or option in that scenario.
Pretty interesting. And with this veto competition, are you gunning hard to win it, or do you feel you're going to let someone else do so?
I am gunning hard to win it. Um, I would really like to keep nominations the same, so I don't have to nominate one of Ari or Swan. Um, I tend to be pretty good at jigsaws, so I'm going to really try for this and freeze and arms. Um, I feel like my threat level is already as high as it can get. I don't think that winning this is going to make me. I don't think winning this is going to be the straw on the camel's back per se. I think that if anyone was going to take me out, they would have done it regardless whether I win this veto or not. So yeah, I'm just going to try to win it.
All right, period. Well, thank you, Vlin. It's very informative.
Thank you. And yeah,
Period.
good luck.
Toodles.
Toodles.